The Marinade.
There's no O in marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone marinade. The
That's
Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle.
Well, the darkness creeps down Rosedale, all the way to the promenade. Now the stars align so gently, while the palms do swing and sway. You've been thinking of salvation, grown up and moving on, but you never had a reason till you heard it in that
Welcome
song.
to The Marinade with Jason Earle, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. This is episode 129, and our guest is Sammy Kay. Sammy is a songwriter from New Jersey who now makes his home in Cincinnati, Kentucky. He is a dear, sweet soul who has lived a fascinating life. Sammy has 2 records coming out this year, y'all. The first is an EP called Inanna, which is packed with incredible songs and includes work by the great John Calvin Abney. Inanna is available for pre-order on Bandcamp, and you can hear the whole thing on April 28th, 2023. Waiting is one of those wonderful songs. You are hearing it in this episode, and it is now available wherever you stream music. Sammy came over to Marinade Studios ahead of his show in Orlando with great friend of the show, Matt Woods, on Super Bowl Sunday this year. Y'all, this is one of the most intimate, vulnerable, and honest conversations we've ever recorded, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to bring you my conversation with Sammy
You
Kay.
say it ain't nothing to me. Well, it starts with that spark and ends in a place. 'Cause in my mind, you're always thinking about them tarot cards and driving down the boulevard. Both days right through them stars in these broken Hollywood dive bars. If you're waiting, I'll be waiting.
That's great. Sweet. All right.
That song,
I think we got the pup subdued.
Yeah.
That should be about right.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, cool. Buddy, thanks for doing this. Thanks
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. I feel
Yeah,
like,
new friends.
I feel like we've really connected
Just
lately.
a couple of pings.
Yeah, just a few weeks, and I feel like I've gotten to know you so well. So I'm really excited to pick your brain to talk to you,
Yeah.
and so that the folks listening can get to know you as well.
Yeah.
You sent me your forthcoming records. You got an EP and you got a full length,
Yeah.
and so I've been devouring those. And buddy, they are fantastic.
Thank you.
I mean, they're absolutely fantastic.
That's all John Calvin Abney. He's the magic on that record.
Well, let's talk about that. He's incredible.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, and what a great pairing that I don't know that I would have necessarily, I didn't know that you guys knew each other or whatever,
we
but.
didn't really.
Okay, so
we
what happened?
played I think I played 2 shows with Moreland, and John was really funny, and my buddy Jay, I'd moved to Kentucky, and my buddy Jay Duckworth is a Tascam nerd, and I was like, let's make a fucking Nebraska. Let's do it, right? Just like room, a couple mics, and I'll just play these songs. And I sent him to John, and he's like, oh, did you do this on a Tascam? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I have one too if you want me to use it as a preamp. Like if you ever want stuff on top. And I was like, oh, okay.
Cool.
And then over the last about 10 months, we're just sending songs back and forth.
Very cool. So it seems like, from what I'm gathering from what you've told me and what I've read, that you had a whole bunch of stuff written.
Yeah. So late last January, I was working at a bar, and we were moving a giant smoker, and I tore pretty much every muscle, everything off the bone on my thumb.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's good old 4-inch gash there. So, and I couldn't afford, you know, God bless America. I couldn't afford, I don't have health care, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go into debt, so I like just YouTubed some physical therapy, and I was like, well, let me just try and figure it out and like, you know, get my thumb stronger to do like, you know, the John Prine thing, the finger picking thing. And so every day I kind of just was like, I'm going to write a 12-line song. Just a quick sonnet, right? In Mexico, they're called corridos. They're these quick, like 12 to 16 line stories through music. And I just started writing them. And some of them were dumb, like, I fucking hate my job, work sucks, today's terrible. And some of them, you know, when you're writing with 12 lines, and I kind of stuck with 12 lines for the record.
Okay.
I didn't want to hear a chorus 8 times.
Yeah.
Like short and sweet, like I'm a punk.
Yeah, yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, let's go.
Yeah.
You know? And when you only have 12 lines and there's really only a chorus that can be repeated, that's only said once, right?
Yeah.
Everything is a setup and like a golden dagger. So I had to really think about writing. But I also did it kind of disassociating. So like there isn't really, I think we maybe changed 2 lines that on the full length that's first like, and they're both like on the song How Fast to Run. Jay was like, oh man, that line's real good. And he said it, and I was like, that's not what I said, but that's a better line. Let's retract that right now. And they're just like very like, well, I'm not super tenses. I always mess up tenses. So like Jay was like, you got to edit these tenses because you're talking in one line like past, present, and future. And those were really the only 2 edits. The whole like
that's
that whole
incredible, dude.
Yeah. They're just kind of me disassociating and rambling about the bullshit my friend said at the bar.
Man, that's incredible.
Yeah, I just took the one-liners of these guys I was meeting and stories we were shooting the shit at the bar, and I was like, oh, there you go. That's a line in a song. I wrote it down. I went home, and I was like, all right, cool, that's my line. Right? I played in Jersey at Danny Clinch's gallery, and this kid Blaze was talking to me about, he's like, I'm stoked you left town. Like you left, and when things got weird, you didn't come back. You just kept going. And he said something like, yeah, he said like the conversation was like, you know, the hardest part about where you're from is figuring out where to go. And that immediately turned into the hardest thing about where you're from is figuring out how fast to run. Like that whole song is written off of that line. Wow. It just vomited out. A couple of them, like one day I was at work and my boss Johnny, we're both sober. He was rambling about he wanted to smoke a bong and listen to Disintegration. Right? Yeah. There you go. I got home and it's like I just want to get stoned and listen to Love Song.
Yeah.
Right? And they just fell out. And the glory of me in these short songs is that they're just easy. Like I hate using the word easy, but they're just like, all right, you got to set up a good line, paint the picture, another good line, like the make you think line, and then all right, let's just go right into what would be the chorus. And the cool thing about them being short and the chorus is not really repeating is, right, a good Irish drinking song is a good Irish drinking song. But after the 5th chorus, like we get it, you're drunk.
Yeah.
Right? So you can, right? Or even like, you know, some of those Sublime songs, right? And I'm not calling out Irish drinking songs as Sublime, like
sure.
We get it. By 45 seconds, you've smoked a bunch of joints.
Right.
Like you just keep saying it, you know?
Yeah.
That those lines, like when the chorus is hit, or what would be the chorus in these little sonnets, you can say just bonkers lines that when they hit so strong. Like one of them is like, I'm not afraid of dying no more. Like you can't really say that more than once in a song.
Right.
And that's like a bridge line, but because there's no bridges and there are these short things, it can be the lead into the chorus or what would be the chorus, and it's just all right, it's time to think, right? Follow it up and call it a day, you know?
Yeah.
Short and sweet.
Well, it comes out beautifully, and I wonder, so much to unpack here. So, I wonder if like you said easy, and then you kind of took it back for a second, because like I wonder if how much of that process was easy, so to speak, for you, because you've just done so much work and you've been doing this for a while. Like, do you think that's just you've gotten to a place in your process and in your career as a writer that you were able to take on this new challenge in that way because of all this other work you've done?
Yes and no. So I'm also, let's just lay it out. I'm a mental health wreck.
Yeah.
So all of COVID, I wanted to take care of myself, and I kind of went on a meds regimen. And I didn't touch a guitar for 2 years.
What?
I didn't write. I think I wrote 4 songs throughout from post Civil War. So we finished that record like late 2018. I moved to Cincinnati like December of last year.
Oh, right.
I've been there for like a year and change, Cincinnati, Kentucky. I think I wrote 4 songs. That's it.
What?
Yeah. I wasn't touching it. I wasn't really, and like waiting is one of them.
Because of the
EP.
headspace you were in? Or?
I was on meds, and the creative side of my brain also coincides with the crazy part of my brain. Right? So
yeah.
it's one of those things that it was like, all right, I'm feeling good. I'm a fucking zombie. Like, this is not right. I'm not playing. I'm not writing. I'm not being creative. I'm not doing much. That about the time I left California, I was like, all right, I'm just going to do the therapy thing and do kind of heavy therapy so I can kind of figure out and get back to who I was. And pretty much the second the meds kind of left my body, songs just started vomiting out.
Wow.
And there was a lot of life lived between that, like, late 2018 to COVID,
Yeah.
A lot of life, a lot of changes, a lot of wild things. So when I finally got to unpack and go through it, it all kind of made sense. I think that's why these songs just kind of fell out. I had a couple years worth of shit to say.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that it was still there, that the stuff that you had to say was still there, especially given that you were on meds. I think that's such a, as you know, we talk about mental health a lot on the show, and I think the decision to get on meds is not one that's taken lightly. That's a tough spot to be in.
It's the same thing with sobering up. It's surrendering.
Right.
You can't. You need this help.
Right. And it doesn't work for everybody. Meds is not the answer for everybody, but for some people it is game changing, you know? So for you, it sounds like it was a little bit of both. Like it was,
I was living real stable. Like, I got like the same kind of brain that Brian Wilson has, right? It's that schizoaffective disorder. So I have these voices in my head that converse with each other and talk to me. And a couple other things like swing, depression type things. I'm an anxious wreck most of the time. But it got real quiet, and I was like, and then slowly through therapy, I realized as I write songs, these characters that I write about are really the voices in my head, and I'm just letting them talk.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's fucking cool. Like Cecilia, she's in a bunch, right? Like Sweet Cecilia's on, like that character, that face or voice first shows up on Untitled, so the 3rd record. And then she kind of gets her swan song on Civil War, and then Better Worse is written about her funeral.
Oh shit.
Right? It's about Cecilia, them clearing out her house. Right, gold pocket watches, time stands still, carnation crosses. Like at the end of Cecilia on Civil War, that's her walking to the beach. Right, that's her and a random person having a conversation in the chorus, the like, you got to take care of yourself. That's the bartender overlooking and not saying anything in his head. And the outro is her essentially ODing, walking to the beach to die. Right? Like, when I go, like, I want to be by the ocean. So it was kind of me projecting me and her and this addict. She's the addict voice in my head. So then, better, worse, it was like, all right, let me put her to rest. And then I'm in the shower when I'm doing these 12-liners, and this voice comes back into my mind. It's her. And so better, worse is really about, like, and looking back, like, it's not them cleaning out her house to because she's dead. It's because she's in rehab and they're trying to find the stash. They're trying to find all the things that she can't have. Because in the song on the new record is Better Way. It's kind of her saying, like, hey, I'm okay, right? Like the pre-chorus verse or whatever in this 12-line is the city aches with rain and the skyline's not the same, but these streets, they don't feel the same to me anymore. And then it goes into, like, you know, she only wants a better way to breathe again, which is like straight, like that feeling, like I sobered up a long time ago. It's that first breath you have and you're like, oh fuck, I'm alive. Like, we're good.
Wow.
Like, we're gonna make this work.
Yeah.
And that's why that record ends with the line, it's so damn hard to hide behind these scars. Because it's her saying, all right, cool, I'm here. We're fucking good. Like, let's fucking go.
Wow.
That's therapy. I sat and talked with my therapist about, like, my mental health, and we realized that I've been projecting these voices that live inside me that are healthy in a sense.
Okay. And
letting them kind of run their mouths and guide, like, when I'm writing. So when I disassociate, when I write, they come out and I just let them ramble. And like, one of them's like a really, like, fuck the world, like, fuck this guy, like, fuck that, right? And those are like the bitter, like, life sucks songs. And Cecilia's like her voice kind of resonates and says, like, all right, it's time to go, it's time to run.
Yeah. Like,
just make a break for it. And there's like like Silver Dollar is this guy. I heard from him as a veteran. He's like a soldier that's kind of been through hell and back, that's like just trying to get by, survive, right? He's a survivor. So there's his voice comes in and out of play. Yeah, it's cool. We just spent like 18 months really, like, dissecting every song I've written, trying to see if it's my voice
you and your therapist.
Wow. Yeah, it's fucking cool.
That's
like, I'm
awesome.
Stoked. And now I'm just like letting them, like, and if I sit and write, like, and I sit and write every day. Like, before I came here, me and Matt Woods were joking about writing a song about the Claremont Lounge, like a Woody Guthrie rambling song. I'm like sitting, like, cracking jokes about this strip club in Atlanta, you know, and but when I sit at night, I tend to do it at night when I'm tired. I just, and it starts out just like a 1-4-5 in G, just a John Prine kind of finger pick riff, and I just let it out.
Man, okay, so
it's fucking bonkers, right?
It
I told
is.
you I'm a maniac. Like, I
love
crack jokes about it, but
I love it, dude. So I'm really interested in, as someone who isn't well versed in that particular condition that you have, that it sounds like if you're not like trying to kill off these characters or these voices, like there's a utility to them outside of the writing process.
Yeah, they're kind of like so from how I understand, like, how my mind works, like, so schizoaffective is essentially multiple personalities, but they tend to get aggressive towards me. So, like, like, I have a voice always saying, like, just go buy that fucking bag and go get a needle. It's always in the back of my head.
Right.
It always, and anytime I'm like, all right, cool, the show's going great. Like, man, just fucking get a bottle. Like, go back to the old life, right? So, and through therapy and whatnot, I'm like understanding how they work and how they intertwine, and like if I ask you in an hour, like, yo man, you want to go grab some ramen? Like, I'll have 3 voices telling me, like, you sure you want ramen? Like, we're in Florida, like, tacos are really good, but that faux spot up the road is really good. Like, the full conversations all the time. That's why, like, if you see me like later night, I'm like walking around like before set, trying to like eyeball in my head like the set list.
Yeah.
Because I kind of read every room before I play, and read the show and see who's there and like, all right, are we doing like the punkier, heavier strum, or like can I really play quiet story songs tonight? Is it a banter night? Like last night was a banter night. I played for 45 minutes. I think I only played 5 songs.
Whoa.
But we were just talking, and the conversation was there, and I played a slower, quieter song. So like when I look like a fucking like wide-eyed, like what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But it's just everybody talking. Like, all right, what do you want to do tonight?
Yeah. Well, listen to the voice that says "Go get the pho." If you're playing at Will, so
Yeah,
like,
we're playing
it's a Mills 50.
Yeah.
You want to go get you want Vietnamese food. You
Exactly,
want
yeah.
So just make sure that voice.
But we're also in Florida, and like Mexican food in Florida is way better than Mexican food in Covington, Kentucky.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, my partner Chris grew up in Utah, and she swears that the Mexican food in Utah is better.
I swear to
than
God,
it is here.
if it ends in Airto and it's in Salt Lake City, it is the best Mexican food you can have.
That's
Pretty much anything that ends in Airto is good Mexican food.
Yeah.
That's like a hard rule. If it's
good.
Airto, we're stopping. you know?
Yeah. That's great. Dude, so much great stuff there. Because one of the things that stood out to me about these records, and I did dive into all of your music, but these forthcoming records is the way that the world building you do. And so it's like, and it's interesting to hear you say that, you know, the process that you were using, because it's like, what I noticed was that it feels like you build a world within each song. Like you there's so much. I can picture myself sitting there having that cup of coffee as the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Right? And like,
What that
what an
song-
evocative fucking line.
Yeah.
It's simple, but
that
like,
song is it's past, present, future. The first 4 lines are it's called How Fast to Run. It's going to be the first single on 1960.
Oh, cool.
When it comes out.
Coming out in the fall, right?
Yeah, the fall. That first 2 couplets are seeing somebody walking down the street that you're like, you seem cool. I want to know you.
Yeah.
And that second 4 is the courage to, you're on that date. And then that chorus at the end, right? Like the pre-chorus is, oh my, if we just had the time. It's just one line that says, I'm fucking busy, but I want to know you.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the like realization. And then that chorus is when we're old. It's 3 stages of life.
It's beautiful.
It's 12
stunning.
lines in attack.
It's a stunning song, dude.
Yeah. John Calvin really, and Corey Traumatelli played upright on all the sessions. And Corey is the two of them, we never played in the same room. Everything was done via tape machines and the internet.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Everything just, it feels like we're all in one room.
It does.
But yeah. Like John Calvin is such a beast in composing and soundscapes that like I think he sent How Fast to Run first, and I said, cool, you're doing the whole record.
Wow.
Just because the way the piano and the pedal steel and like there's some stuff on the record later on that he's like doing a pedal steel bend with a harmonica harmony over it, which is just like, you're telling me you played this part on pedal steel with a pretty bend and you managed to Thin Lizzy it with a harmonica. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm in. I'm all in.
Oh man, that's the second Thin Lizzy reference in 3 episodes of the Marinade. That's
the greatest band ever.
That's great, man.
Yeah, the next record is going to be an all Thin Lizzy cover record about hot dogs.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Thin Glizzy. Yeah. When I saw you on that roller, man, I took you for a chance. It was 3 a.m. at 7-Eleven, and that big mite took a glance. You roll steady under the heat lamps. I always get mustard stains on my pants. Yeah, Thin Glizzy. We're gonna take over the world with Thin Glizzy.
Yeah, that has no chance but to be successful.
Yeah,
Thin Glizzy does. One of the things you and I connected about, on a more serious note, is
Thin Glizzy is pretty serious.
It
my
is very
friend.
serious.
It is
very serious. I'm sorry. I did not mean at all. Did not
the
mean.
bonds are nice and brown.
I am so sorry. I was not trying to disparage Thin Glizzy at all. Folks listening.
It's okay. Yeah, we're good.
Please note that his body language is understanding of the moment and that I didn't mean that. But we connected about Justin Towns Earle.
Yeah.
And you shared the most beautiful letter that you,
Yes, and
that
it's
you- that you
his
sent.
Instagram, and it's his wife that runs it. Yeah, I was real young. My old man is a music guy. And like that's how I found out about Lucero and the Hold Steady, and he held things like we knew he listened to Springsteen, but he never pushed it on us. And like I remember having a conversation with him about Nebraska, and it's like I heard Nebraska. He's like, welcome. Just that was it, welcome. And then I later found the Replacements about the same time, and I was like, hey, so I blatantly remember punching my dad in the arm and calling him an asshole because he didn't give me Let It Be Young.
Huh.
The only band that he really was like, you need to listen to was The Clash.
Huh.
And which is, I have Joe Strummer tattooed on the back of my head.
Right.
Like looking over my shoulders at all times. But,
Right.
But he always would be like, we need to go to the show. We need to go to the show. And he handed me Yuma, and I kind of wrote it off.
Why?
It wasn't Paul Westerberg. I was 20
right.
and I was
Right,
engulfed in Minneapolis.
Sure.
But then The Good Life came, and I was in.
Yeah.
And we went and saw Justin at Maxwell's. It was him and Corey Yates. That's that guy's name? Yates.
I don't know.
I think he's in Old Crow Medicine Show now. I think that's his band now. But it was just the duo right as The Good Life came out. And I was in bands, and I was already on tour. You know, I started touring real young. And the way those songs hit that night in a small, Maxwell's is maybe 150 cap, if that. Small shotgun back room of a bar in Hoboken, New Jersey. But the way the lights hit him, his smirk, he was a towering person.
Yeah.
I'm a big guy. I'm 6'1", and like I was looking up.
Yeah.
But the way everything hit, but really the way the light hit him, it made me realize that songs were the most important part about music.
Oh wow.
That whatever you do, and I was playing in like a soul reggae band then, Rocksteady.
Yeah.
As long as the songs were good, you're golden. And it kind of sent me on this quest. Like I said, I was maybe 19, maybe 20 to write. I just wanted to write. I wanted to tell stories like, you know, The Good Life, and you know the way that he painted I went back to Yuma. Like Yuma is they're perfect songs. They're these stories of life, good and bad, and then The Good Life. It gets a little funky, but the hooks are there. And later on, I discovered John Prine. I was like, oh, that's why the hooks are there. It's John Prine. And then Midnight Movies, and just like every time there was a new Justin record, my life got weird, and it hit me perfectly. Right. Harlem River came out. I was moving out of New York, and I moved to LA, and then I was moving back to the East Coast when Nothing Gonna Change the Way You Feel About Me came out, and it just the way that he wrote, the way that he played, the smirk, the jokes. It like even I saw the Saint and Lost Causes record release show, and my old guitar player Will Romeo, he like managed to. His wife bought him tickets, but his wife couldn't go. And he's like, "We're going to see Justin tonight," and I had 2 days off between tours, and I'm like, "Okay," and we ended up like somehow front row City Winery, and he just kept looking at us, making fun of the bougie folks eating steaks. and looking at us and like, you guys are punks. You get it. You're not getting a steak. Like, you guys are splitting an order of French fries because that's all you can afford. And like, yeah, like proper working man. But yeah, his ethos and his storytelling and his story is huge to me. But it all goes back to that light.
Yeah.
The way that light hit him and that smirk as he dropped that line. Any of the lines, right? With JT, any of those lines are mystifying.
Yeah.
And I'm enamored. I'm still like, I listen to Justin almost every day.
Wow.
In some facet.
Wow.
Whether it's on a playlist or a song pops up on shuffle or I go and put on a record. But I listen to something by him just about every day. And it's weird, when I'm homesick, I go and I tear through YouTube.
Yeah.
Looking for gems. And he's not from New Jersey.
Right.
I'm not from Memphis.
Right.
You know, like, but just the way he paints pictures, to me, I'll always relate to guys like Springsteen, but the way, right, especially on Nothing's Gonna Change and Harlem River Blues, he was talking about the same bars that I was going to, right? And that, like, you know, One More Night in Brooklyn, like, I've lived in that fucking apartment.
Yeah.
Right? And I've wanted to push out of that apartment to grow with the people I kept close. I get it. I fucking like, and it's just there.
Yeah.
Right?
He had such a, like, that light you talked about hitting him that day, and then the smirk. He had, like, there was a swagger to him. It wasn't like, I don't know if cockiness is the right word.
But he wasn't cocky.
He wasn't like,
But he had that, like, yeah, man, like, I know what I'm doing, but, like, you knew in the back of his head he was probably living with imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
The whole, like, am I doing the right thing? Like, they're clapping. It sounds good. Okay. But am I?
Yeah.
You know?
I saw him, Swanee, up in Live Oak, Spirit of Swanee Music Park, 2012, I think it was, 11 or 12. He played a midday in the round with Jim Lauderdale and Jason Isbell.
Check, please.
Yeah, right. And I was just like, I mean, I'll never, right? Those moments you never. And
this is probably, Isbell was still drinking then.
I think he had just quit.
Yeah.
It's like 2012. I think.
Yeah. So, and I'm not discrediting Isabel's early records, but like those two that came out right as he sobered up are masterpieces.
So Here We Rest had come out.
Okay.
So because he played Alabama Pines, and Justin had to cover his own microphone because he was singing, because he was taking up in the moment, you know. But then then the 400 unit played, but also Justin played with a band later.
Yeah, cool.
And it may have been the only time I saw him with a full band.
I've never seen him with a band.
Yeah, every other time I just saw him.
I've seen him with, like, what's her name?
Some of the three
like
piece.
With the,
This
combos.
This was like a full band, and dude, he stole the show. I mean, and I'm talking about Jason Isbell and the 400 unit were there. Now, granted, again, this was 11 years ago, 400 unit, so it wasn't quite the incredible production you get now, but it was still amazing. They were still a great fucking band then. But Justin just lit the woods on fire, man. It was, and so much that stood out to me was like that kind of like swagger to, he's playing these incredible songs, but that presence that he had.
Yeah, it was light. It wasn't like that dude could have, you know, been the worst songwriter, but just the way, if he just presented himself the way he did, right? It's, you know, like, you love John Prine because John Prine always feels like he's your father or your grandfather. Just the way he presents himself, the way he talks, the way he's right.
Yeah.
It's like Randy Newman. Like Randy Newman is your grandpa. He's your weird uncle that you love.
Yeah.
Right. John Prine is it's that lovable grandfather figure, right? And Justin is like that kid up the block smoking darts, smoking heaters, that just looks cool.
Yeah, yes.
And you're just enamored by him, and you know, the glory of JT is that he had this catalog of songs, right? Some of the Yuma stuff, like he wrote when he was like, what, 14, 15 years old?
Insane, yeah.
Right? When I was 14, I was writing like, I hate my mom. She's
Yeah.
the worst. She took away my Misfits bullet shirt because it had Kennedy's head blown off on it, right? Those are the songs I was
I
writing.
want to touch Sally's butt.
Yeah.
She won't let me. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I'm still writing songs like I want to touch Sally's butt. Like I
And there's
said,
nothing wrong with
I
that.
just wrote a song about the Claremont Lounge. I started to write a song about the Claremont Lounge.
There's something too. Also, I think about you know you've mentioned Prine and you've mentioned Springsteen and you know these legends of roots music, but there's also something about someone like Justin or Isbell or like for me my Justin is probably Isbell because and we're about the same age. He's a little bit older than me, and I've grown up and become an adult with his records.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's something about someone that is contemporarily making music that speaks to you and it's hitting you, as you mentioned, at these phases of your life.
Yeah, the growth phases.
Right, exactly. But that's fresh music. It's not like you're and there's so much beauty in going to a John Prine or to a Springsteen or whatever, but they did that forever ago in most cases, the records that you're listening to, whereas Justin drops a record and you're like, fuck, I needed that song right there, and I've never heard it before.
Champagne Corolla. Done. Saint of Lost Cause, it's done.
There you
Hell,
go.
even his version of Graceland, when that hit, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And granted, like, I got Southeastern something more than free. Like, somebody gave it to me maybe 2 weeks out of rehab.
Oh, wow.
And those records hit me exactly where they needed to hit and made me realize, oh, shit. Like, this is possible.
Yeah.
Right? I can work for a good life. But, like, hearing Elephants after sitting in a rehab for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, fucks you up and makes you really, you know, it landed exactly when I needed it.
Yeah.
You know? My buddy Vic Ruggiero, I worked for his band. I moved in with him when I was really young. He sings in this band called The Slackers. It's like a New York City ska band.
I want to talk about that too, so I'm glad you went there.
I've written 90% of the songs on the records. There's 2 that I did not write. One's on the next record. It's on a 7-inch that Will, my guitar player, wrote. And the other one, obviously, like the Cup song from Pitch Perfect, I did not write, right? Or Tom Waits' Old Shoes. But Highs and Lows it was on Love Letters, and we did it again in that Americana thing, Amerikinda thing. Vic wrote that.
Okay.
And that line, and I love Vic, like, with all my heart. One of the reasons I wanted to be in the band was to be like Vic, this kind of nomad vagabond, and I'm real stoked and grateful that I've had him in my life now for pushing 20 years, and we got to travel together for about 8 years, and we lived together for 3 years. There's a line in Highs and Lows. You turn the radio on and hear a song that you swore they wrote for you, right? Those moments, right? And it sounds like those JT records for me or those Isbell records for you, right? You hear those songs and those records and you fucking feel.
And it's incredible, the universality of it, how like you're getting out of rehab and it's hitting you.
And he got out a year prior. 2
Yeah.
years prior.
Whereas, like, for me, I was just, like, the reason those records, especially Southeastern, hit me so, and Here We Rest, for that matter, hit me so intensely was because what I was hearing was, like, my transition was I was finally deciding in my 30s to, like, become a fucking adult. You know, I was like...
What's that like? I'm
it's,
we going there, my friend?
It's boring.
Is it?
No, it's great. It's great, but, like, you know... And it looks different for everybody, too, I think, right? Like, you know, what that looks like. I was just reflecting on this recently.
I got 2 years before I joined union, my friend.
Yeah.
I got one more push.
There you go.
2
There
records.
you go. And it's just like, there's something, when Southeastern came out, I was like, all right, I'm going to give this
being a grown ass man and a push, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many songs on there that to me speak to, okay, it's time to be a grown ass man. You know, there's so many songs on Southeastern that are like, you know, I can't do Super 8 Motel anymore. I gotta get my shit together. I gotta start to do the things I need to do in order to like live the long, fulfilling life that I wanted to. And it was also a time for me where I was accepting that I'm a creative. I was like coming into my own as someone who makes stuff. And that record just hit me in that moment. So what's so beautiful about this whole fucking mystical, magical musical experience is like those records hit you at a time when you were going through a very different thing, and still they spoke to you so clearly. You know,
the perfect song.
Yeah.
The perfect song.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned the Slackers.
Yeah.
I think I got into your music originally because Joe, whose last name I've never heard pronounced, Mayako, finally,
The fifth Beatle.
Joe,
The fifth fucking Beatle.
who's such a champion for music and such a like lovely guy, and who I've also connected with online, similar to the way that you and I connected, loves you, right? He just
This is my best friend in the whole world.
He just thinks you're amazing,
Yeah.
you know, and raves about you. So I was like, well, if Joe likes him, I gotta check him
We're
out.
good.
You know?
There's two people in this world that I will say, if you're a friend of so-and-so, we're good. Three. Joe Mayako, Todd Farrell Jr., and Pete Steinkoff from the Bouncing Souls. If you're a friend with Pete, Joe, or Todd, we're fucking good.
Man, that's the second
Blood
time.
brothers.
That's the second time Todd's name's come up. Justin mentioned him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Todd.
Todd Farrell.
Yeah. So I didn't know about like. So I don't know when that was. It's probably like 2019.
Mm-hmm.
You had a record drop right
Civil
about
War,
Civil
yeah.
War. Yep. So I think that's about when I first got introduced to your music. So I didn't know about like your reggae and ska kind of days, and so I went back and listened to.
It's like 15 years of touring before Civil War. 13 years.
Okay,
before I even thought about writing Civil War.
So I'm really interested in all of that because you know I only know the Slackers because a good friend of mine is really into ska, and he took me to a show at the Social here in town.
What year was that?
Probably 15 or 16.
I might have been there.
Well, that's pretty wild.
I was tour. I stopped working for them around 15, about the time I sobered up.
I think it was 2015.
Yeah.
It all runs together because
It might have been the last
15.
run I was with them.
Wow, that's cool. Let's pretend like it was.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
It's good to see you again, my friend.
Likewise.
I probably know your friend too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you probably know Philly. Everybody knows Philly.
Yeah.
So he took me to that show, and there was 90% of the shows I attend are like
People standing still.
yeah, exactly, and that ain't it.
You know, it's a wave, especially the Social.
Yeah,
Those shows were always magical and always a hell of a hang. You put
cool.
merch in that little corner, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Actually, we played the Social. We did a Slack show. It popped up on my memory today on Facebook. 9 years ago, I was at the Social today.
How much different is it seems like you've lived so many lives. How much different is that world as a musician versus sort of
Country music and Americana music, or reggae music and Americana music?
Yeah.
It just depends on what country you're from. It's all country music.
right?
Reggae music is just country music if you're from Jamaica,
Right.
It just depends on what country you're from.
Yeah.
So I've always written cowboy chords. E, open E, G, C, D, A minor, right? And then we'd take, the glory of reggae music is some of the best songs are like the verses are just one chord, and just it's about the groove, right? So as long as the melody playing cowboy chords, like we'd always adjust it, but like everything was written strum, and then it's like, all right, let's get the band in the room, and let's figure out like, all right, we know it's gonna be in this key and this groove, like, and you build off of that. And then the words kind of just whatever I've written, cowboy chords, comes out, rocksteady or reggae. And the thing about rocksteady and ska is that was really, rocksteady was the answer to Motown, right? It's the same time frame. It's a lot of the same songs they're covering. So it was really just about writing like the saddest, most heartbreaking love song you could, which is no different than what Barry Gordy was doing in Detroit.
Right.
But the process is the same. It's always kind of been the same, right? Find the line, right? Everything with me is kind of written off a line, or a concept, right? Like the last song I wrote was about a friend of mine just lost her whole man, and big music guy, and she was telling me all the songs that they would play, so I just started writing them down, right? And it's going to be based, all the lines are going to be based off of these old songs her father sang to her. Same thing going back to reggae music, like I knew like Sweet Misery, I knew the line was, "You got me in sweet misery," right? That's the line. And I knew that I wanted to talk about the concept of the crossroads, and I left you at the altar, I took a left to the cross, right? That was one of the lines too, where it's like, okay, like I love you, but I'm gonna go sell my soul and travel, which is no different from How Fast to Run, where it's the line is, I'm just hoping for that slim chance, right? It's I've never really adjusted the process.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
I'm a firm believer in a perfect song, right? My concept of perfect song, the most perfect song that I can name off the top of my head, Cher's "Do You Believe in Love?" 1930, Robert Johnson sings it, right? A couple years later, Billie Holiday's singing it. Then it's a big band song during World War II. 1952, Chuck Berry's ripping it on an electric guitar, right? 56, 57, 58, there's a Sam Cooke version, right? 62, the Ronettes are playing it, right? 68, it's on a Rolling Stones record. 72, it's on Pet Sounds. 77, the MC5 is hollering about it, right? 1982, it's on a Blondie record, and it's also on a Phil Spector produced Ramones record. 87, you have the Tiffany version, the synth pop version, right? 94, you have Chris Cornell hollering it, right?
Yeah.
It's a perfect song. These skeletons of "Do You Believe in Love After Love" can be played any which way.
Right.
There's no time reference. There's no situational, right? It's a perfect song. Yeah. So as long as that skeleton of the song can kind of fit in that parameter. Like I played fucking Van Halen's "Jump" last night, like a John Prine song. Right? David Lee Roth is a comparable songwriter to John Prine. And if you look at "Jump," and especially 1984, like John Prine could be singing "Hot for Teacher." There's witty one-liners and there's serious lines. "Jump," right? You got to roll with the punches to get to what's real. But then that next line, great chorus, you might as well jump. John Prine could sing that all day.
Absolutely, yeah.
"Hey, you who said that, darling, how you been?" That's a fucking John Prine line.
Yeah.
Right? It's a perfect song.
Yeah.
So as long as the skeletons of a song, right, and not even necessarily the chord, but the vocal melody, the content, what it's about, you can... It's a chameleon. You can make it any which way you want it to be.
Man, yeah, I think it reminds me of when Ryan Adams covered Taylor Swift record.
Yeah. Or even now, he just did "Blood on the Tracks." He did Nebraska.
Oh, really?
He put a band on Nebraska.
I didn't know that. I gotta listen to that.
"Blood on the Tracks." I don't like Bob Dylan, so I'm gonna let that one slide. And Nebraska, like, it's cool, but don't fuck with Nebraska. But 1984 is perfect.
It's amazing.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and frankly, I'm not big into Taylor Swift, but once I heard those songs,
love her.
You do? Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't land with me.
The newer stuff doesn't land, but the older stuff is real good.
But when you hear it, sometimes you need to hear it in a different way. Like, obviously those songs are good. I listened to Ryan Adams do them, and I was like, oh shit, this is amazing. Yeah. And so clearly they're incredible songs. But I don't know why she doesn't land with me. Otherwise, You don't like Bob Dylan?
I don't like Bob Dylan.
Like, you don't like him is what you're saying. Not that you're like ambivalent or something.
I've done my homework.
Yeah, you know your shit clearly.
I have recently listened to the full catalog again. Right? You like baseball?
I'm obsessed with baseball.
Right? Bob Dylan in my head has like a .090 batting average, right? Really strong rookie season, right? First 6-7 years up to 68 up until the crash, great. I think the Basement Tapes are his like years after, like he tore his ACL in 68, right? He's a baseball player, right?
Yeah.
So the Basement Tapes are him rehabbing. Like he's got a couple of hits. They're not great. And then he hits his glory days in late 70s with, like that late, and then he falls off again. He hurts his shoulder, comes back in fucking 89 with the Wilburys, retires, right? But he retires for the wrong team. 97, they give him a one-day contract to come back, right? Time out of mind.
Yeah, the Albert Pujols season last year.
Yeah, right? So he can retire a Yankee, right? He started Yankee, he's going to end his, right? But so Bob Dylan in baseball talk, right? We play this game at the bar, perfect catalogs, batting average catalogs, right?
Yeah.
Dylan, I think, has a low batting average. He's released 500 songs.
All right.
But let's be real, maybe 40 of them are good.
Okay.
Really good songs. And like the thing about Dylan too is when he hits the ball,
yeah,
you have fucking Don't Think Twice, It's All Right.
Right.
You've Lay Lady Lay,
Yeah.
right? You have all these fucking like out of this world
To
home
make you
runs,
feel my
right?
love.
But like I don't
Yeah.
need to hear a fucking 29-minute song about JFK. I don't, right? And to be fair, like
In 2020.
I don't need to listen to a bunch of guys, and no offense to the band or Dylan, I do have a lot of respect. I don't need to hear you guys stoned off your gourds jamming,
Yeah.
which is the most prolific piece of music in the world, the Basement Tapes.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need that.
Man, that's an interesting point too, because I think I
He
never
was
thought about
literally
batting
like,
averages.
he was just rehab, like Creedence. Creedence has almost a perfect batting average.
Yeah.
They're batting in 900, right? They did
but they
4
only,
or
they were only
5.
together like 4 years though.
That's fine. They did 5 records.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And do you know the deal about the last Creedence record? So the band was like, yo, Fogerty, you've written all these songs and you've picked these covers. We're going to write a couple. Like in my mind, there's like 4 or 5 bad Creedence songs, and they're the 4 or 5 that aren't a cover or Fogerty didn't write. And I feel like so they have Creedence, real high slug percentage,
Yeah.
real high batting average, right? Real good band, right? Oasis has like, I'm a big Oasis guy. I think they're batting like 500. I think Springsteen's at like maybe a 6. Like Hall of Fame, right?
God, I love this. Okay.
But like Springsteen, I don't love Tunnel of Love. It's also like subjective. I don't love Tunnel. Like some people say Bob Dylan is batting 1,000. Like that's cool, man. Like enjoy your 35-minute song about the Titanic where he references fucking Jack Dawson on a door, right? But like Oasis, I think is batting like 500. I think half the songs are really perfect. Springsteen, like I don't love that weird. I don't love Tom Joad. I don't love Tunnel of Love.
I do love Tom Joad.
I respect and I acknowledge it, but opinion wise, like I don't think those are hits.
Sure.
It's no Thunder Road. It's no
Sure.
It's no fucking Promised Land. It's no Nebraska as a whole.
Yeah.
It's no Dancing in the Dark.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Again, real high slug percentage, right?
Yeah.
And he had a really good rookie start, and then he comes back later on, like Cal Ripken when he was fucking 45, and had a ripper of a season with The Rising.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Man.
We play the perfect song game a lot
This
at
is
the bar.
a great game, dude. The
Yeah.
batting average thing
Yeah.
and the slugging percentage thing is awesome.
Yeah.
That's and it marries.
And we have rules too, like so Thin Lizzy put out 20 records after Phil and I died. Doesn't count.
Doesn't count. Yeah.
Like the Misfits end when Glenn Danzig leaves.
Yeah.
Right? Misfits have a perfect catalog in my book, right? The Danzig era.
Yeah.
The rest, so whatever.
Yeah.
The Michael Graves stuff is great, except for the fact that he's a fucking whatever. But
Like you wouldn't count Skinner past the plane crash.
Skinner
you know?
ends at the plane
Yeah.
crash, right?
Yeah. What about like the Allman Brothers? What do you do with them?
Half the principal songwriters survived,
Okay.
so I give them a keep going.
Okay.
But like the Gin Blossoms doesn't count. Their principal songwriter only made 1 record.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the guy that wrote Hey Jealousy, he was a mess. And don't quote me that I'm a mess, but I believe he was a mess. I believe he was going through it. And
Yeah.
they ended up letting him go, and he killed himself.
Oh no.
And that's why The Best Gin Blossom is the first record, because that guy wrote it.
Interesting.
And the guy that wrote Hey Jealousy did not write any other songs.
Yeah.
That's why that first Gin Blossom record is fucking out of this world, and
Yeah.
nothing else really counts, right? So Gin Blossoms is like a weird one where like it's the same guys and the same singer, but like the principal songwriter left.
Yeah.
Or like and we have like Notorious B.I.G. does not count. Technically, he only released one studio record. Everything else is mixtapes and demos. So you can't, like Amy Winehouse, the same thing. There's 10 Amy Winehouse records, 8 of them are live.
Yeah.
Or B-sides.
Right.
Right? So when it's like a 1 record or a 2 record band, like you can't really count.
Yeah.
Like the Misfits is a weird one because they really only put out 2 full lengths with the Danzig lineup. The rest is all 7-inch and collections over whatever 8 years.
Right.
7 years. Like the Clash, like Strummer was in it from day one until Cut the Crap.
Right.
So you have to include Cut the Crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Principal songwriter.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this.
Yeah.
This is great.
Like the Beach Boys. Like Beach Boys is a weird one because Brian Wilson wrote for them until like the early 80s. But then he stopped. That's when like the Mike Love Beach Boys really became a thing.
Yeah.
Right? The Dennis died and Brian Wilson was like, I'm done.
So you still count.
I count with the Beach Boys. I count to like 80. Technically, you should count to current because Mike Love was a principal songwriter.
Yeah, but that really brings down their average.
It brings down their average. But if you say the Beach Boys broke up after Pet Sounds, which is pretty much when Wilson really checked out,
Right.
it's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect slug percentage, like
Absolutely.
done.
Yeah.
That's some Barry Bonds shit right there.
Yeah. For real. Yeah.
Right? That's some Aaron Judge shit right there.
Yeah.
Out of this world.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Unstoppable.
Yeah. Now you're gonna text me in the middle of the night,
I know.
like, all right, man, what about this band, right?
I am.
Like,
Now you got me thinking about all this because now you got me thinking about batting averages for like
Wilco has a really
I was
strong
say more
batting
contemporary.
average.
Yeah.
And Wilco doesn't necessarily have a massive slug percentage. Like they have hits and they are
Right.
huge, right? But they have such a strong batting average. They're a record band. They're not a singles band,
Yeah.
right? The Wallflowers.
Yeah.
That first record is all home runs.
All home runs.
All home runs. And the second record is really good too. And even the later stuff is
The
great.
most recent one they did a few years ago is really good.
Yeah. Mick Jones produced that record.
Oh, I didn't know
The
that.
last one, Mick Jones from The Clash. He did
Yeah.
2 of theirs, I think.
Man, they're so good. They come up some fairly often on the show because I just think they're so fucking good.
I think that Bringing Down the Horse is a perfect record.
It's a perfect record.
Yeah.
Start
to stop.
I found my old CDs at my parents' house,
Yeah.
and so I was going through it, and I was just like, some of these records that I was obsessed with. I'm like, am I still? Would this hold up, dude? Bring Down the Horse more than holds up.
Yeah, T-Bone Burnett co-wrote that record. Don't quote me. He didn't co-write the record. He produced the record. Don't quote me. Mike Campbell plays slide guitar from Tom Petty's band on that whole record, and the dude that played drums is a ghost drummer. It's not the actual guy on the record.
Huh.
And he's like huge. Like he played for John Prine too.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And just the band is like, and I think Benmont Trench plays a bunch of it on. It's the guy from that band is now in the Foo Fighters playing organ.
Oh, right.
But he also did like the Bouncing Souls records.
Uh-huh.
He's like the guy playing organ on all those punk records.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But I believe Benmont Trench played a bunch on it too, as like a ghost musician. But Mike Campbell is like, it's known that like
That's awesome.
the slide
I don't
part
think
on
I
one
knew that.
headlight is
Yeah.
fucking Mike Campbell.
Fucking record.
It's so good.
It's so good. I want to get back to you for
Yeah.
a second. Even that was super fun. But I want to get back to you. And I want to be mindful of your time. And we have already.
I have plenty of time.
Okay, you're good. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, we
All
can
right.
talk. I will talk. And then let's plan our podcast about baseball.
Hell
batting
yes,
averages.
dude.
Let's do that.
God, that would be so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm 100% down with that. So if you're looking at your career, you've done so much. It's so, like I told you last night, it was so interesting to do this research because you've done a lot and you've had so many twists and turns and ups and downs to your life and career. When you look back on your career as a creative, as a songwriter, as a musician. If somebody's making the documentary, the Sammy Kay documentary, up to this point, right? You still got a lot left, but up to this point. And maybe a fun question would be, what do you think is to come? But just up to this point, what are like 2 or 3 scenes that would just have to be included in the documentary about your career?
Manchester, England, 2019.
Okay.
It's the first time I sold out a show headlining.
Oh, cool.
It was a small bar, 75 people.
Uh-huh.
My guitar went down. I played the whole set on the floor. And Civil War come out like 2 weeks prior. And I'm a couple thousand miles from New Jersey, and there's a bunch of fucking kids from Manchester singing along.
Wow.
New songs, knew all the words.
Wow.
That's up there.
That's awesome.
May 2016, Asbury Park, New Jersey. I climbed on stage. I don't know if it's a notable one. No, that wouldn't be.
What happened? Just
Gaslight asked me and a couple of younger Jersey guys and Pete from the Souls to come up and play with them.
oh, cool.
So I got to climb on stage and sing Gaslight songs with Gaslight
That's
in my
awesome.
hometown in front of 10,000 people.
Folks listening probably know that he's talking about the Gaslight Anthem, but in case you didn't,
Fuck.
that's awesome.
April 13th, 20. I got a real good steel trap.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was going to comment on that.
2014. I drove from Missouri to Dallas, Texas. And if you know me, I sobered up April 16th. So that drive was real brutal and real fucked up, and the next 48 hours of my life after that were very, very, very rough. That drive would have to be there, because we were in the middle of making 4th Street Singers. I left to go on tour, and we put off finishing that record for 4 months because I was in rehab. Yeah, that drive is real important. I don't remember the date, but it was 2007, February. We pulled into Los Angeles for the first time, and I definitely have a very torrid and toxic, I'm not even gonna fucking dodge it, relationship with Los Angeles County, Southern California as a whole. So going to LA completely changed the trajectory of my life. I thought I was gonna be an East Coaster my whole life. I thought I was gonna live and die in Asbury Park, New Jersey. But seeing the Forever Sunshine and the Endless Summer and that feeling of I was young. I was 18, barely. That definitely was a huge moment. Seeing the Pacific for the first time. And we've always kind of had real good Los Angeles shows over the years. But that definitely, if I didn't hit California on that tour, I probably would have not fallen in love with it. Realistically, I wouldn't have met this guy named Jason Lawless, who passed away a couple years ago. Lawless booked a run for us in my first kind of touring band, this band called the Fourth Rights. He would not booked a tour with us that would have introduced me to Joey Quinones, who now is pretty well known. He's in this band called the Sinceres, and he's like a Coal Mine Records, Daptones guy.
I think that's where I know him, that name from.
Yeah, Joey. So me and Joey made love letters. JQ. If I didn't meet Lawless, I wouldn't have ended up on this tour with his old band, the Delirians. They're still active. He's just not in it. And we wouldn't have started to make music together.
Mm-hmm.
Because that spawned the catalyst of Love Letters. And we were maniacs. We recorded like 75 songs in like a year.
Mm-hmm.
We just spent all day kind of partying and writing and learning and figuring out how to make music. And that whole crew that we worked with on that record, everybody, like one of the guys is playing drums with the English Beat right now. One of the guys is like was in Taylor Swift's band for a while. Everybody that kind of rolled out. One of the guys is on like The Walking Dead. He's an actor.
Oh wow.
That whole crew, and Joey is this genius songwriter, composer out in LA, like kind of leading the way with that Chicano soul thing. That revival is a lot of it's him. And a lot of those bands are people he's either recorded or produced or introduced. Right, the Altons were hanging out while we were making that record, and now they're huge. And you know, Joey obviously went and did his thing. But yeah, that showing up in LA and meeting Jason Lawless is pretty crucial. Yeah, I think those might be the three big ones. And obviously Orlando, Florida tonight.
Yeah,
at
baby.
Will's Pub.
Will's
Super Bowl
Pub.
Sunday.
Super
Go
Bowl
Birds.
Sunday, yeah. I'm pulling for the Birds. I got my Gardner Minshew shirt
Yeah.
on. I just want my boy to get a ring. So.
Grease those poles. Grease them poles.
I like the ongoing joke about, I think Saturday Night Live did it, and I've seen memes about it, about like, well, Philly's on fire, so the Eagles either won or lost.
Yeah, that's Philadelphia. That's what Springsteen's Streets of Fire is about. It's about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Is it really?
No, but for the sake of the story, let's say it is.
Oh, man. Dude, this has been so much fun. We
Yeah.
usually end on what you're getting down on, so that the art that has you inspired at the moment could be a comedy show you saw. It could be like, a record you're listening to, a TV show, just something that's got a book you're reading, something's got you fired up.
I am thoroughly obsessed with Bella White right now. I think she's amazing. I listen to Pet Sounds every morning with coffee, and I think I will do that for the rest of my life.
Oh, wow.
The other day, there's a beautiful lithography exhibit at the Knoxville Museum of Art that I've been kind of daydreaming about. I have a Robert Frank photography book that I'm pretty obsessed with. Pretty high grade 35 millimeter black and white photography.
Man, what a rich life. That's a lot of really great stuff.
I try to go to an art museum every day.
That's awesome.
I'm a big fan of them. Well, especially traveling.
Yeah.
This kid Mikey Frazier, I got his new record and it's just phenomenal. The single's out now. It's called Tulsa. I'm trying to think what else I've been losing my shit on. Wall of Death, that old Richard Thompson song, Wall of Death, real good. It's been on repeat.
I got to see Richard Thompson live once, and it was amazing.
I would love to. Richard and Linda Thompson, the two of them are beautiful. And I really love this band out of Erie, Pennsylvania called the Oneaters.
Okay.
Big fan.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. You gave me some homework then. That's great. I love it. Dude, thank you so much.
No problem.
When's the EP come out?
I think the first song is going to probably pop in about 5 weeks from now, mid-March.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's off. Literally, we sent it out to master today.
All right, so folks listening, make sure you're following Sammy on socials and so forth so that you don't miss that. And, of course, I'll be talking about it too. But this has been just, I knew it would be a pleasure. It was even more fun and more enjoyable than I thought it would be. But this had a blast. Thanks for having me.
Honey, I swear I'll be waiting here for you. If you're waiting, I'll be waiting. If you're waiting, I'll be waiting. 'Cause in my
Sammy Kay, y'all. Thank you so much, Sammy. Thank all of you for listening. Head to Bandcamp to purchase Sammy's music. You're supporting great art and a wonderful fellow at the same time when you do so. MarinadePodcast.com for all things The Marinade, including written pieces, photography, our online store that desperately needs updating, and more. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Spoutable, and Twitter. Subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on your podcast app. Tell a friend about the show. These are all free ways to support the Marinade. And if you really like what we're doing and can swing it, please consider joining our Patreon community. Just a few bucks a month, you can gain access to Patreon exclusive content like our show Jason's Journey, where I talk about the moments that shape my creative life and provide a window into the process of making the Marinade. It's just $2 a month, y'all. If you can do more than that, we appreciate it. But I just wanted to be as accessible as possible. We've got so many cool things over there. A brand new monthly show. It's 3 episodes old called What We're Getting Down On. It's a conversation between me and my good friend Peter Haroldson, where we talk about the art that has us inspired at the moment. Also, we have a show called Inner Child, where I ask our guests childlike questions such as favorite food, TV show, etc., just silly stuff. And it's just a lot of fun. If you want to support the show financially, but you don't want to commit to a monthly subscription, you can Venmo or PayPal us at the Marinade if you look that up. All the money goes right back into making the show, and right now, that means saving up to cover a few festivals. We've been invited to some really cool events, and got to figure out how to pay for those experiences, y'all. I am just beyond grateful to Sammy for this experience. Hopefully some of y'all caught that joke that sailed right over my head at the end when he's talking about what he's getting down on. If you did get it, drop us a note on Twitter or on Instagram about it. Just so thankful for this conversation. It was incredible connection with such a fantastic person. And above all, I'm just grateful for each one of you who listen and spread the word and make these kind of experiences possible. Until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all.